Welcome to the Eternal ROI podcast, where we share the real stories of workplace transformation. And now, here are your hosts, Will Stewart and Chris Patton.
Welcome to the Eternal ROI podcast. Good to have everybody watching and listening along. I'm Will Stewart. Typically, we have Chris Patton, CEO of His Way at Work, here with me to interview our guests, but that's not the case today.
We sloughed off the dead weight.
Chris is doing a big circuit. He's doing a bunch of stuff at some conferences and doing some family trips and stuff. So we miss you, Chris. But today we have Joel Delph, who's the carrying manager at Polydeck. Welcome, man.
I'm so glad to be here. I do miss Chris Patton. He's one of my favorite people. I call him the general because with a name like Patton, you have to win a war.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And he's a great guy. Just a joy to work with, and always have a good time. We end up laughing a lot. So
His story of transformation with how he found his value at a deeper level in the workplace is one of the things that just really encourages me every day when I think about his life. And so I'm glad to be on here. I'm glad to be talking to you. You are an incredible guy. You've got a great story.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just interview you today and talk about your life, Mr. Will Stewart.
Let's do that the next episode. Let's talk about Joel today.
Joel, okay, let's talk about me.
So you were here episode 4.
Yes.
So you're our first recurring guest. So congratulations.
Repeat.
That's right. And we talked a lot about your story, how you kind of progressed going into ministry, then coming out to going into Polydeck and all that. Maybe we don't repeat that again totally, but so if anybody's maybe interested in that go check it out, episode 4. But for those who maybe you're new to the podcast, tell us a story about you, how you got to where you are today.
Long story short, 2010, my wife said, "You aren't supposed to be a banker forever." And we just started praying about different levels of purpose. And that one conversation at Outback Steakhouse led us to going into ministry for 8 years. And about 7 years in, God just made it really clear that I need to go back into the marketplace. And right now I serve as the global carrying manager for Polydeck Screen Corporation. It's an incredible company that really understands that the most valuable thing in the organization isn't the brand. It isn't the product that we sell, but it's the people who make it happen each and every day. And so it's my job to serve those employees in a way that honors God. And so if they're going through something, they know they have a safe place. And we also have resources to really help people.
That's incredible. Polydeck special. It really is. We had Peter Freisler on, the CEO, on the show. So people should check that out, as well as his son, Matthew, who's still in school, or was when I talked to him. So what does a global carrying manager do?
Yeah. So if you take an HR manager at your organization, an events planner, a pastor, a community connections manager, and put them all in together, that's what I get to do. So part of my job is we really have a heart for serving in our community. And something special really happens when employees get to serve and sweat together. So we partner with over 150 different nonprofits in our communities that we work in every day, and we volunteer. So that's a part of what we get to do, coordinating those efforts. We do mission trips throughout the year. So we do 4, 2 internationally and 2 nationally. And that's a really amazing time because when you give an employee the gift of perspective, you get to serve in a different community that looks different than you.
Yeah.
We've been serving in Nicaragua for the last 7 years, and that is mind-blowing to be able to see people with so much hope in a really hopeless circumstance. And so we get to serve all over the world, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We care for our employees in times of crisis. You know, right now at your workplace, there is someone who's going through something and they don't know where to turn. Their car broke down, which is why they're late. They've got some house problems that they don't know how they're going to pay for that HVAC that, summer is right around the bend. People are going through crises every time. And as a company, we've just had enough faith to believe that if we serve our employees in those times of crisis, not only do we help them as a person, but we're investing in something that's bigger than just the bottom line.
The fact of the matter is, you cannot escape your personal troubles and your personal life
Yeah.
when you step through the door. I mean, there's no magic door at Polydeck.
Yes.
And if they don't have it, I'm sure no one else does either.
Yes.
And I've yet to find the magic door where you can just slough off everything and suddenly I'm a 100% productive, employee for the company I'm working for.
It's so true. If you guys have ever seen the documentary, The Last Dance, that followed the documentary of the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
One of the first things that Phil Jackson did was he took this group of millionaires, brought them in a room, and addressed them as people and figured out what was going on outside of their lives, outside of the court. And because of that, they were able to win all these championships that we all know about. But it really started with developing a culture that was cohesive, pointing it in the same direction where people felt like they were known, valued, and appreciated.
No. And it's worth the time to invest in people. If you're even thinking it from a mercenary standpoint of like, I want to make a buck, right?
Yes.
You have to take care of people because that's the lifeblood, no pun intended, of a business.
Yes.
And it's interesting, if you line up 100 CEOs and say, do you agree with this? Do you believe in it? I think all of them would say yes. But it's hard to enact. It's hard to figure that out. Again, no magic door, so there's got to be something else that's put in place. So what does Polydeck do to help meet those needs of the people working in the factory and on the shop floor as well as the offices?
Right. We were talking about this right before we started the filming. Culture is something that's inconvenient to build in the short term, but it exponentially trains people better in the long term. And so what are some of the things we've done? One, it really started with Peter Freisler, our CEO, his heart being pierced to realize that he needed to think of not just ROI, but eternal ROI.
Yeah.
So it really started with his heart to say, I've got to shift the workplace. So from there, Polydeck did some practical things like just asking employees, what's it like to work here? And
that's a scary question.
It's a scary thing, but I guarantee you this. If an employee's been at your organization for longer than 2 years, they have an MBA from Harvard with how this place works.
Or doesn't work.
Or doesn't work.
They know all the problems.
They can tell you. You can pay someone $500,000 to come in and be a consultant, or you can ask that third shift shop floor worker, what's it like to work here? And you'll be surprised.
And they will not spare a punch.
They're so excited to tell you. So just really asking people what's going on here and how can we be better?
Yeah.
And starting with that level of openness and vulnerability gives the employees the keys to say, man, this place would be better if, these reasons. And then from there, it's a journey. It's a journey of taking one small step at a time to do the work to make the culture that you want to live in. And so practically what that looked like is Polydeck formed a caring team. And these are employees throughout the whole organization. They're not at a certain managerial level or tenure. They're all throughout the organization. And they have the voice and the ears of the organization to speak on what's going on. And so we tend to live in silos. We say they're a bad thing, but people, whenever you get in groups, you build a community. And when you have representatives from each of those silos throughout your organization and say, hey, this is what's going on here, you can really start to affect change.
Yeah.
And we listen through the years and we evolved and we make mistakes every single day, but we really are on a journey to really care for people. It's really exciting. About 3 months ago, we had a death at the company and an amazing employee, Bill Civillet, he passed away. And it was a tragic time for us as a community. But when tragedy hits, you really know what you're built on.
Sure.
And at his celebration of life, we did a celebration of life at work. And we took time off during the day. We cleared out one of our bays and we had it right on site. We had employees get up and share different things about Bill. Stories that no one ever knew. His family didn't know about it. One guy said that his car broke down and he ended up walking to work. And Bill saw him walking to work. And Bill picked him up, drove him to work, and said, hey, if you ever need a ride, you call me, okay? And for the next 3 months, every single day, Bill took that man to work.
Wow.
There's stories like that that highlight the culture of what we want to build that you don't really know about.
Yeah.
And giving people a voice to share those things is really valuable.
Yeah. That caring team is so powerful because it democratizes caring. Instead of it being on the CEO's shoulders,
Yes.
who is a busy person, or being on, say, the shoulders of some guy that's, he's got a half dozen things to do already, and it's like, here, do this other thing. When you democratize it, there's something powerful in that.
Yes.
Because now caring is not just, the boss's responsibility. It's my responsibility as an employee.
Yes. Your behaviors, beliefs, values as a leader, they trickle through the organization whether you know it or not.
Oh, yeah.
And when we just try to be intentional with the values we want to be replicated, it really goes further than we ever thought possible.
Yeah. And you can, it's a 10Xer for, what you're wanting to accomplish.
Yes.
And you can do it so much better.
Yes.
Going back to the shop floor, they know what the problem is of your company. They also know what the needs are in your company.
Yes.
So with this caring team, what does it look like? It's a group of people. Are they meeting monthly? Are they meeting quarterly? How's that kind of work? Talk about the budgets? How that all works.
So the caring team, we meet monthly, and I get to head up the caring team, but they're comprised of employees throughout the whole organization. We've predetermined a budget that the care team can have autonomy to work with. And, the finances of that all, that's scalable to whatever the size your organization is. But at some point tends to be that money is where the tire hits the road.
Yeah, right.
And so a lot of things become rhetoric until you start paying for it.
It's true.
And so the care team has a level of autonomy with the budget that they control, and we can use that to care for employees. And so employees can apply for different needs that the care team can approve or deny based off of what's going on. And we've also empowered every care team employee to have a dollar amount where they can just carte blanche care for people in their area as they see fit. And so that could be lunches, dinners. It could be someone's going through something, so they need a gift card. We give them that autonomy, and then we just make sure that they stay in the budget range of what their authority is.
Sure. Man. And it doesn't take that much to start making a difference in people's lives.
No.
It's surprising how little you have to do to just say, I care. And it starts with listening, right?
Yes.
Just asking and listening, and then actually doing something about it.
Yeah. And, when you give what you can do, people see that.
Yeah.
It's less about giving someone a brand new house, but it could be bringing someone in to talk about the pathway to home ownership. Knowledge is power. And so many times as leaders, we forget that there are people all around us who don't know what we know.
Yeah.
There's a 22-year-old employee right now at your organization who may not know how to buy a car. That sounds really simple for you because you're in car number 40, but for them, it's a new thing.
Yeah.
And so just listening to those needs and supplying people, not just necessarily with money, but with knowledge, can be a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the core values for our company is servant leadership. It's I'm going to be a leader, but I'm also looking behind me to see who needs a path forged for them. How do I train? How do I teach?
Yes.
How do I grow, invest in other people?
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's absolutely important. So whenever Peter, the CEO, was here, he was talking about the very first thing that he did to help when he just wanted to, change the culture. And he asked them, you might ask the employees, what do you want? And it was just a shack to smoke when it rained. So I can, he's like, I'm not going to put not no elements. I'm just going to go so I can go smoke. It's a little thing, and like if you're thinking about if you're a CEO, you're thinking like some big grand gesture, like you said, like a new house or something for somebody, but just give me a little covering.
Yep. And this hits the bottom line each and every day because we are all living in current times where the workforce is highly competitive to keep and retain talent.
Yeah.
And you can try and do it with a sign-on bonus. You can try and do it with top pay, but really having a culture where people feel like I'm on a team I love, I have purpose in my workplace, and then I have a voice here, that's priceless.
Really
really is.
Yeah, and it's a great distinguishing element. And that goes to like there's some business leaders who are like, this is just, who needs this?